Hello and welcome back to another in-depth weather video. Today we are talking about Winter Storm Viola and the eastern part of this storm. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell. Now let's get right on into it. So I am on the Weather Channel page here, and we have another news article. We have second winter storm this week will hammer the south with more snow and ice than target the east, including New York. Now, at a glance, we have another winter storm, which is now moving into the south. Significant snow and ice is expected in some of the same areas as our previous storm, Winter Storm Uri. This storm will also bring snow and ice to the northeast, including Boston to Washington corridor. This includes Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. Now, the Weather Channel is not talking about the significant sleet threat that we could also have with this storm, and I'll get into that a little bit later. So right now, here are our winter weather alerts. You can see in these dark blues, that's your winter storm warnings. Your medium blues, those are the winter weather advisories. And then in the lighter blues here, those are winter storm watches. Those will likely be converted into the latter two here during the next 24 hours or so. So here is the current radar. You can see in the pink, that's ice. Purple is sleet. And in the blue, that is your snow threat. So here is Wednesday's forecast. You can see light snow in parts of the country such as Dallas, OKC, Little Rock, even stretching up into Kansas City and St. Louis. Ice in areas north of Houston, east of Austin. Then you have sleet in Shreveport, but mostly rain along the Gulf Coast. We do not have enough cold air like we did with Uri to bring that snow all the way down to the coast. Now here is the Thursday and Thursday night forecast. Heavy snow in the northeast. The northeast is going to get that snow threat Thursday, and during the day, both Philadelphia, Baltimore, and D.C. will switch over to either sleet or ice. Now, the back end of the system will be relatively weak, but could still add a few inches of snow to some areas that have already gotten some snow, as well as maybe a little bit more ice on top of that ice threat. Now, there is a potential for some severe weather in the southeast. With this storm, we'll get into that a little bit later as well. So here is the Weather Channel's graphic for the snow forecast. You can see that they have most of the snow falling in the northeast, but I have this threat here, this 8 to 12 inches, that they have a little bit more to the north and west. So DC, you're probably going to get a little bit less than the Weather Channel is saying right now, but areas such as New York and Boston could see a little bit more. Here's the probability of ice with this storm. If you're in these dark purples, prepare for some major power outages and for some road closures. If you're in these medium pinks, maybe a few power outages, a few road closures. Some areas could be impacted more than others, but you're not in the worst of the ice threat, and you could be seeing a little bit more of that colder side or a little bit more of the rainy side, just not all ice. Now this pink threat here, this light pink, that's the low probability. You'll probably see maybe a few scattered power outages, but for the most part, these are the areas that are going to see some snow, at least a little bit of snow, then briefly switch over to some ice, then the storm usually will move out after that ice threat. Now let's move on to the Weather Prediction Center. So here we are on the Weather Prediction Center. We're going to be looking at the 24-hour probability of accumulating an inch or more of snow. Now, this isn't about snow totals. This is basically the NWS's confidence in certain amounts during this storm. So, basically, we're going to be looking at how confident the National Weather Service is with this storm. So, right now, everything's pretty confident. We can see 95% chance in a very large area here. And those reds, which is 80% and up, in a very wide multi-state level. Now, as we go into the next few hours here, you can see that threat kind of goes a little bit down, which means the National Weather Service is showing less snow and less confidence in that snow. Now, once we start to see this northeast threat come up, that confidence comes back very quickly, and we get yet another multi-state threat from Kentucky into Connecticut, and that threat grows as we get closer to the worst of this storm. And you can see here that we have very wide areas of that 80% plus. So let's move on here to the NAM and look at some snow totals, some ice totals, as well as just what's going to happen with this storm. So right now we're on just the simulated radar for this storm. So you can see here low pressure in New Mexico, and that low pressure will be jumping out into the Gulf. Actually, a new one forms there. Quickly dissipates, it's gone. Then that Gulf moisture starts to get brought up, a new low pressure forms, more Gulf moisture is brought up, and we start to see that heavier snowfall start to come in. And we see that all move into the northeast. Here in the purple, just real quick, is the sleet threat that I was talking about. This includes Baltimore and DC, as well as a lot of Virginia. Now, with the European model and the GFS, this is usually mostly freezing rain, but with the NAM, it is showing a significant sleet threat here. So that moves off, and we get this second low pressure down in Florida. So this is going to help boost some of those snow totals. So you can see that most of the snow has moved off. All the heavy snow is now off the coast. We get some light snow, but this second low pressure brings in some more ice for areas such as Philadelphia, Baltimore, and DC, but also some more snow for areas such as New York and even Boston. But it also brings in a little bit more warm temperatures, so areas right on the coastline, such as Cape Cod, Southeast Rhode Island, Long Island as well, going to switch over during that time frame before this storm moves out and brings in some more cold air with it. So the NAM is showing a pretty significant amount of snowfall from this storm. You can see that this purple area, this maroon, that is 12 inches plus. That stretches from West Virginia into Connecticut. Now, this is much different from the European model, which doesn't show that large of snow totals. The NAM is also showing a little bit of a elevated threat for some snow in Arkansas and Missouri. Now, that could go either way, especially with the volatile area of the Gulf. Could bring up some more moisture, but at the same time, there's not really a low pressure there present for some major snow totals. So that is a little bit less confident. So that is what we saw with the Weather Prediction Center. But once you get this stretch right here, those pinks from Mississippi up through into New Hampshire and Maine, that is very high confidence. So we'll be seeing some snow. Now the matter is how much snow. But with the freezing rain threat, we can see highest freezing rain threat is in North Carolina and Virginia. Areas could be seeing an inch of ice. Now, same thing goes down here from Texas up into Tennessee. These areas have already gotten close to an inch of ice with Uri, and we are seeing very significant ice threat here. Now, this is more of a half an inch of ice instead of an inch. Now, let's move on to the GFS and quickly go through that. So the main difference with the GFS is that the GFS has that low pressure forming much later and has this storm being overall much weaker. And it also doesn't have that second low pressure forming to boost those snow totals. So the GFS here, we're going to look at this right about here. And you can see that those snow totals are much less, especially in Arkansas and Missouri, as well as in Tennessee and Kentucky. But those northeast snow totals are still a widespread 6 to 12, and a little bit of an area 12 to 18 in the higher elevations of the Appalachians. Now, in terms of ice, the GFS, of course, doesn't have that second part of the ice with that second low pressure, but it does have still that significant icing threat in North Carolina and Virginia, as well as another secondary icing threat in areas such as Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Now, here is the European model. This one has the biggest difference in terms of model to model, because this storm doesn't even have a low pressure until very late, and overall, the European has this storm being very weak the entire time. So, you can see here, not much going on, and that is definitely shown in the snow totals here. So, you can see, we barely have any areas even seeing 10 to 11. That's in those higher elevations. Most of the Northeast, New York, Boston, seeing about 6 inches. And this main threat is from Tennessee up into Long Island. So major difference in the models there between the European and the GFS and the NAM. So what do you think is going to happen? Comment in the comment section down below. Also comment in the comment section down below. Who do you think is going to see the most snow from this system? But let's move on to my predictions and what I think is going to happen. So here are my predictions for this storm. Now there's a lot here, so let me go through it one by one. So we're going to start off with snow. In this light blue here, I have my less than 3-inch range. These are the areas that you're not going to be seeing much snow. Most of it will be off to your south, or you're going to be switching over early into the storm. Now, the next area is this medium blue. That's 3 to 6. You're going to be in parts of the light to moderate snowfall, but you're not going to be in the heart of the storm. The next area is 6 to 12 in the dark blue. This is the area that's going to be in the heart of the storm. You're going to be seeing a lot more of that heavy snow, but you're not going to be seeing the most snow, but you will be seeing a pretty decent amount. Then I have in the purple here, this stretches from West Virginia into Connecticut. That is the 12 plus inch range. Most of this will be on the low side, 12, maybe 15 inches. But this is identical to the NAM. The NAM has been very, very accurate over the last few weeks. So definitely taking the NAM on this one. So 12 plus inch range right in here. And those are the areas that are going to be seeing the most snow from this. Now, in terms of ice, I have these areas in the red. This red outline indicates a slight chance of receiving ice. This means that you're not going to be seeing a lot of ice. If you do see anything, you will be seeing very little, just that trace of ice, if you do get that changeover to ice. But then you have this maroon color here. This maroon color is the greatest chance of receiving ice. These are the areas that are going to be seeing a lot of ice. And these are the areas, if you're in these areas, get ready to see some power outages, some road blockages. These are the areas that are going to be most impacted by the ice. Now, in terms of rain and that severe threat, the less than half an inch range is just going to be some drizzle, maybe a few showers. Then you have this half an inch to 1 inch. These are the areas that are going to be seeing some general storminess, but nothing very severe. If you're in this 1+ inch range, these are the areas where you're going to be seeing either heavy rain, or in case of this area to the east, some lines of thunderstorms moving through, and those areas could be having some severe threats. So watch out for some severe thunderstorm warnings, some tornado warnings. We did have a tornado in North Carolina because of Uri, so these storms could bring up some very severe weather in the southeast. So if you're in this 1 inch plus range, this eastern part here, definitely watch out for those alerts. But that is all I have for this storm, and that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.